Hello everyone, and welcome to this informational webinar about the RECIP program. That's for the Renewable Energy Competitive Incentive Program. I'm Scott Bladorn. I'm the program manager here at Focus on Energy, and I'll be taking you through our slides today. So this webinar is intended to give you kind of a basic overview of what RECIP is and how it works. You can also find much more complete information in the RFP and in our FAQ documents. Those are both on the website at focusonenergy.com/RECIP. But today we'll go over some of the basics as well as what customers are eligible, how to participate, how we score things, and the timeline for when to get your proposals in and what you can expect. So like I said, starting with the basics. So what is RECIP? Well, as the name implies or states, it's an incentive program where customers compete for incentives from Focus on Energy. We administer this through an RFP process, that's request for proposals, and customers propose their renewable energy projects and tell us how much funding they would need in order to move forward with those projects. A committee then evaluates those proposals, and we'll get into this more on the scoring a bit later in the presentation, but a committee evaluates the proposals and chooses the most cost-effective and worthwhile projects to incentivize. So who is eligible for RECIP? Well, applicants must be non-residential customers, and they must be customers of participating utilities. Now, Focus on Energy has 108 utilities in the state of Wisconsin that participate in the program. So you can find more, of course, on our website. And we also do have programs for residential customers as well as small business customers. We have programs for their renewable projects as well, and that also can be found on the Focus website. And what technologies are eligible for the program? You can see the list right here: biogas, biomass, geothermal, wind, solar photovoltaic, and solar thermal. Equipment must be new and owned by the customer, or it could be a retrofit or an upgrade, but in those cases it would need to be a significant increase in generation or output. We would also want to see documentation of the existing system's output. Some of the other requirements are that there are no refurbished equipment, so it has to be new. No leased equipment, again, it has to be owned by the customer. No repairs or maintenance, and then no equipment purchased prior to the award. So if you've already started work on the project or purchased some of the equipment, that would not be eligible for RECIP. So there is no stated minimum size requirement for any system to apply for RECIP, but we do have a maximum. So the system output should not exceed 125% of the annual kWh or therms consumed by that customer or on that site. Biogas projects, however, are exempt from that requirement. We do have a required payback rule, so it is a minimum of 1.5 years. So if the payback is less than 1.5 years, we would consider that a free rider, and we would say that they don't need an incentive in order to move forward with that project. There are also some other technology-specific requirements for say biogas, biomass, solar PV, all of the technologies, but we're not going to go into that here. But they can be found in the RFP itself. So incentive levels are structured such that the applicant or the customer proposes how much incentive they're going to need in order to move forward with their project. And the way that we look at that is in terms of dollars per kWh or dollars per therm produced or offset. That can be up to 50 cents per kWh or up to $1 per therm. Those are the maximums. Your project will be more cost effective if you ask for less money per kWh or therm. focus on energy incentives may not exceed 50% of the total project cost, and our incentives for RECIP are going to be capped at $400,000 a year per customer. Now, some customers may also be doing some energy efficiency upgrades through other focus on energy programs. Those programs will have their own caps set for the year. The RECIP grant will be included in that cap as well, so do keep that in mind. RECIP funding will be awarded in 3 tracks for this round. Those include the standard track, which is for all renewable technologies and PV projects over 100 kW AC capacity. Then we have the mid-size track, which is for all solar PV projects equal to or less than 100 kW. And then new for this round is the ag-specific track. So this is specifically targeting agricultural producers, so generally farms. We define that as businesses engaged in the production of grain, livestock, milk, poultry, fruits, vegetables, bees and honey, fish, shellfish, or other common agricultural products, including greenhouses. So these agricultural producers' projects won't be limited to funding just through this ag-specific track. So applicants will be eligible for funding through the standard track or the mid-size track as well, if funding in the ag-specific track is exhausted. And also there's no need for any applicant to self-identify as applying for any of these specific tracks, because the information that's included in the application template will let us know what track we should look at these in. So, like I said, every applicant, regardless of what track they might fall into, they'll be filling out the same online application. And so in order to apply for RECIP, the first step is really to go to the website. That's focusonenergy.com/RECIP. You'll be able to download multiple things, but most importantly here is the full RFP, which you want to review before moving forward to the application form. Now this year we have an online application form. It's much the same information as we have asked for in previous years, for those of you that are familiar. But this time it's all online, so it will guide you through and has instructions included with it right in that online form. So we'll ask for all the things that we need, and then you'll also attach some supporting documents as part of the online application form. And then finally, you'll move on to a signature page. We'll get into a little bit more of the specifics a little bit later. And here you can see a screen grab of the website, focusonenergy.com/RECIP. And you can see some of these links here. Here's the things that you may find useful. There's a RECIP overview. It's a very basic, high-level overview of how the program works. Then we have the RFP, the request for proposals. Like I said, you'll want to review that. The link to our online fillable application form. We're also including a printable data collection form. So this is just for your convenience. If you wanted to have a paper copy of the information that we're looking for, this just makes it easier. It's a fillable PDF, so you could print it, or you could just use it, on your desktop and fill out all your information that way. And then when you're ready to submit your application, you could just go to the online form and transfer all that information. Hopefully that'll make it easier for people that like to work that way. And then finally, a link here is for our FAQ, our frequently asked questions. I'll be adding a couple questions to that. And so by the time this webinar gets out, there will be some new questions on the FAQ as well. But we'd ask that before you come to us with some questions, please have a look at the FAQ. There's a lot of things that are covered in there that you'll find useful. So now I'll just quickly walk you through the sections of the online application form. Section 1, here we have just basic customer and project information. In Section 2, we've got a spot for a project summary. So in less than 500 words, we'd like you to describe the proposed system, describe the customer and their needs, and really make a case for why this is a good candidate for Focus on Energy funding. Section 3 is really the meat of the whole application form. It's where most of the data entry really is, and you'll see that there are instructions throughout to help guide you to enter in the correct information. Section 4 is a line item cost description. So this is a breakdown of all the various costs that it's going to take to get the project up and operational. So the reason we're asking for this is so that the evaluation committee can have some assurance that all of the costs associated with the project are being included in the application, so that we have an accurate accounting of all the costs. So we don't need a ton of detail here. We just want to see that the applicant is accounting for all the costs needed to get the project up and running. There's also a notes section, as there are in most of these sections, where you can include any points of clarification or anything you want the evaluation committee to know. Section 5 is the funding sources. So here we're looking for a breakdown of all the funding and financing sources they're going to pay for this project, including our own Focus on Energy incentive. So the percent of total project cost will be calculated on its own once you put all the costs in here. So the total project cost at the end here should add up to the same amount that had been entered in Section 3. And then the funding secured checkboxes to the right there, that's just if, for example, the applicant was applying for another grant, say a federal grant or something, but did not know yet whether they were going to get it. In that case, you would say, no, that funding is not secured. But like, for example, capital in hand is pretty much assured. For the most part, loans are secured. So, but we want to know how sure some of this funding is. And finally, we have the Focus on Energy impact on project. Here we have a spot for a short narrative describing why the Focus on Energy incentive is needed to move this project forward, and then some check boxes below indicating how long it will be before this project is completed without the Focus on Energy incentive. So after you've entered all of the information, all the data into the form, we move on to the attachments section. So you can see here that for all the supporting documents that we're asking you to attach, there are some instructions that go with it, and you can click on, you can see here, I drew a haphazard arrow here to the Choose File button here. When you select that, it will prompt you to browse your computer to find that file to put in there. So you can find the list in the RFP, list of all the documents we're looking for in the RFP. And here's that list right here, utility history or expected consumption. Really what we're looking for is a table breaking down the last 12 months of usage, along with at least one utility bill from that time period, if available. Then system specifications, vendor quotes, the calculations that you used for energy production, that'll be PV watts if it's a solar PV project, and then a satellite view of the site. Just for solar PV projects, really would like to see what the site looks like. You could draw in where your actual system is going to go. This gives us an idea of the orientation, what obstacles there might be in the area. Then the final step after you've got all the information added in and all of your documents attached, move on to the final step, which is the authorized signature. So if you are the customer yourself, you would select yes for this first question. Is the person submitting this proposal an authorized representative of the applicant? That would be yes. But if you are the contractor and you're filling this out for your customer, you would select no here. Depending on what you select, it'll bring up some additional language here, but then you'll be asked to check this box saying that you understand and agree that the terms above are correct, and then you will just write your name in this electronic signature area. The date should be selected correctly already, and then in the lower right hand corner there, click Submit Form. You will then get an email. Really, back on one of the previous pages, you would have put your email address. It would have asked for the email address of the person filling out the form. That is the only person that's going to get a copy at this point of all the information that was entered, and really it's a verification that you submitted properly. So after all of the proposals have been submitted, we here at Focus on Energy, we have an evaluation committee that will look at all of the proposals and score them appropriately. You can see here a breakdown of the point system that we use. So out of 100 points available, customer cost effectiveness is worth 20. Now in years past that has been worth 25. You can see that we've moved that a little bit. Program cost effectiveness is worth 30 points. So that's really how much incentive you're asking for per kWh or therm that you're producing. The Focus on Energy impact on project is worth 30 points. In previous years that had been 25, so we moved 5 points from the customer cost effectiveness into the Focus on Energy impact on project section. The reasonableness of savings estimate, this is really how clear and well put together and believable your calculations for energy savings are. And then the project completion date is worth 10 points, and this is really just based on how soon your project can be completed. So the sooner the project is going to complete, the more points you will get. So here you can see our timeline for this round. Of course, you probably know the date that we issued the RFP. You can also see the date when the proposals are due. That's by 5 p.m. Wisconsin time. And then you can see when we will be notifying you whether or not we are awarding your project. And then roughly 2 weeks later, we'll need to have heard back from you with your acceptance of the award. So this is one of 3 rounds of RECIP that we'll be running this year, and every year for the next 4 years, actually. So this January RFP is where we're in right now, round 1 RFP, we're calling it. So the next one will be in May. We'll release that RFP in May, and then the third one of the year will be in September. And the last thing I want to mention is just to, make a plug for our FAQ, our frequently asked questions document. You can find this on the RECIP webpage, and you can see that here. If you have questions that aren't addressed in the FAQ, please feel free to send those to recip@focusonenergy.com. We will then post those questions with the person asking it will be left anonymous, but we'll post those questions to the FAQ, so we'll be updating that FAQ up until the time that proposals are due. And that concludes our webinar. So thank you all for listening, and thank you all for your commitment to renewable energy in Wisconsin. I want to give a big thank you to all the trade allies and people that gave their input along the way, and hopefully we have another successful round of RECIP here, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you.